Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. As always, it's me, Jordan Shannon. I'm joined by Kieran Powell. How are you, Kai?
Not too bad, Jordan. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been an interesting past 24 hours following the Cricket West Indies meeting, and obviously following the first day's play as well in India. But firstly, we will touch on that meeting that took place yesterday. I wanted to get straight stuck into it with your thoughts, really.
My thoughts on the meeting?
On the meeting. Let's talk meeting first.
Well, funny, this is the meeting that was supposed to come after the meeting, but is now coming after the meeting that came after the meeting. So there alone, we're already confused.
Yeah.
The fact that it took, what's that? When did 27 happen?
July, I think. Oh, actually.
Yeah. So the fact that it took July, August, September, October, 3 months to basically tell us that you're running out of funds after telling us last year that you're in a surplus, to tell us that you're cutting the amount of teams and tournaments. What else am I missing? What did they say that we already knew, but seemed to be some surprise to them? I mean, they're acting as if getting access to funds is something. It's like a unique challenge to West Indies cricket.
This
is something that every business around the world, much less a sporting entity, has to deal with.
Yeah.
So this is not something unique to West Indies cricket,
No, it's not at all, and that's where it's frustrating because that's what your commercial arm's for.
I mean, they're talking about they've created a new commercial arm and now hired a new CFO and all of these things, but again, if you're so cash strapped, how are you doing all these things?
Well, that's it.
What was wrong with your old commercial arm? Well, we know what was wrong with it. It wasn't working. And what is this new commercial arm done? What have they done?
Yeah.
That is sort of rectifying those issues, because I would honestly like to know two things. How many people is on staff in the West Indies Cricket Board?
Okay.
And would we be able, and this is not us, this is not me and you, would we be able as the general public to have a clear breakdown of the finances of West Indies cricket, a financial audit? Because
does that not take place? Do they not publish that?
I'm not sure. If they do, I've not obviously been paying attention to it. I'm assuming that, let's say they do. We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They do. But if you are in surplus of how much ever millions you stated, and then they're saying that all the debtors that they had would have come in to claim monies now that they made that statement. I'd also like to think that they signed quite a few contracts that they never put out the value of the contracts of.
Yeah,
we need to know the value of these contracts. They've signed something with Coca-Cola. I mentioned in the last episode. I see now that the test team has a jersey sponsor for this Indian.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
What's the value of that? How much money does the West Indies Cricket Board receive on a yearly basis from all sources, whether it be from the ICC, the different sponsorships that they have? We need to have a clearer understanding of what is coming in, how it's being used, and where it's going. Because, for example, something like them stating that they're cutting the under-17 tournament but extending the under-19 tournament, isn't it the same thing as you just keeping both tournaments as they were?
Yeah.
And not changing it and just giving one age group a longer tournament and stating that I guess the talented under-17 guys will be able to play in the under-19s. That is true. But what about the guys that aren't as talented and are slower developers but need the opportunity to continue to play cricket? Because from 15 to 17 is a 4-year gap.
Long time.
And you can lose a lot of players in there that don't feel as though they have the opportunity to get that exposure. I mean,
Exactly.
fortunately, in my case, I played under 13s, under 15s, and under 19s all at the same time. I was living the dream.
Cricketed. A lot of it.
But again, that is something that doesn't happen to most people.
No.
I've when I was playing, like I knew a lot of talented guys that played, let's say, under 15s and under 19s at the same time as well. But the under 15s was meant to bridge a gap. And that's why I said that they need to restructure the age group program and do under 13s, under 16s, and under 19s.
Which now makes sense to your point of what you're trying to get at.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at, for example, now they've announced that they've officially, we've already announced this, but they've got the CCC and the academy, but stating that those guys still have an opportunity to vie for a place. Well, me as a franchise, having already picked a squad of players, what makes you think that the players from the academy are now going to suddenly become first choice options over guys that I've had for, even if it's just I've just drafted, or guys that I've had for years, And you've got guys playing international cricket that effectively are homeless in terms of a domestic team to play for.
Yeah, massive.
So how does that work going forward? This is something that should have been done before the draft.
Yeah.
So teams had the opportunity to draft these guys. So it's a lot of things that was said. Not much of it made sense. Not much of the actions made sense.
No.
I don't know many walks of life that doing something less helps you to get better. If you've just had a surgery, the doctor will want you to rest. But I'm not sure that playing less matches when we're already talking about a skill deficit, because now they're saying that they've hired specialist coaches and stuff, which I'm fully on board with. But that goes hand in hand with playing matches, not
100%.
as a substitute.
Yeah.
You can't replace one with the other.
No.
Because then if I'm working on all these skills, I need an avenue to test these skills and see are they being implemented into my game as I think?
Yeah, exactly.
How can I refine it? How can I change my approach to make sure that these skills are, something that works for me?
Exactly.
It was mind-boggling, the whole thing.
Yeah, and do you know what? The point that you mentioned there about the academy and CCC, yes, we spoke about it, and obviously we spoke about the negatives it has, but it really hit home for me this week with, obviously part of the agency, Amari Goodridge was awarded his West Indies Academy contract. Absolutely chuffed to bits for him and over the moon. But that group of 15 players, which is the West Indies Academy, so it's your next group of players that are coming through, have then got to go back to the respective franchises, and according to the comment that was made, was to make the competition for places better, therefore making the competition more competitive. You only have the number of players playing in a game of cricket is still 11. You can only pick 11 players. Yes, you can have a squad of 22. It doesn't matter. You can only pick 11 players. So no matter where these 15 go in the regions, you're still picking 11. So people are missing out playing cricket. Therefore, they're missing out on developing. Therefore, they're missing out on learning and becoming better cricketers overall. Do not try and pull the wool over our eyes by saying it makes it more competitive, because that is absolute nonsense.
I was flabbergasted because I thought the press conference was about something else. I didn't realize it was, finally
following on from
us getting to learn what the decisions were. When I found, because I got a phone call sort of 10 minutes before, press conference, tune in.
Right.
From one of my friends in the Caribbean. I was like, I've got some time to kill. Why not?
Yeah.
I sent you the link, and
we watched.
No, I mean, it was just, as you said, You can have a squad of 1,000 if you want, really. You can only play 11.
It doesn't matter.
And is it a situation where Cricket West Indies consider regional franchises? You have to pick these guys because they're in our international teams? I don't think so.
Well, not when you talk about the previous ones being contracted anyway. So
Exactly.
It's counterproductive in that respect as well.
And then you give the academy guys contracts still, but you cut them from the tournament. So now I'm guessing they're gonna play against other academies here and there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're just going to be training with no avenue to continue to develop their skill. How does that work?
But it just doesn't. But then your point that we made, I don't know, 3 episodes ago, when you're talking about selection, you talk about how nepotism comes into it, and you've got, players that they go with all the time, and if your face fits, that sort of situation. But you've also you've earmarked this 15, you've got this 15 here. You can't dictate where they're playing. So what happened? You've got a part of that West Indian academies. You've got your likes of Johan Lane, who's obviously playing in the first test today. You've got Akeem August, who obviously finished the T20 series strongly. Jediah Blades. Now, hopefully they do go back and they can manage to get a full first class season under the belt. But there isn't anything the West Indies aren't in control of that situation. What they're in control of when they're part of the West Indies Academy is they can picking that side.
It's so funny on many levels, because these young men now are put into a situation where ultimately they're young, but they still have to make a decision. And I guess obviously they still have academy contracts and stuff, but if you can't see a clear path to playing cricket, not even playing for the West Indies, we're talking just playing regional first class cricket now. There's no point in just training on a daily basis to be the world's strongest man that nobody's ever heard about, because you're not allowed to compete in the world's strongest man competition.
No. And that's when I look at this from a wider perspective. Like, we look at nationally the first class season, so the Super 50 and leading into the 4-day championship. The West Indies Academy or the cricket board themselves have to be doing a lot more to help these players somehow play cricket. So again, I mentioned there, obviously there's only 11 in a side. So the ones that are not playing, what are you going to be doing to help these develop? Are you going to be trying to work with the ECB, for instance, about bringing them over here in the UK next summer to help their development and playing over here, talking about from a leadership perspective? But I just feel as though, and I'm digressing a little bit, but my point is that there's got to be so much more to help these players, and I suppose it's sad.
I'm laughing.
Why?
Remember what they led with. They have no money. So how are they going to do all these things? You have no money. You say you have no money, and you've got to put on 33 tournaments or how many ever tournaments. Every board around the world puts on tournaments. Every business has expenditures. It's nothing unique. You have to find a way to get sponsorships.
You've got to. And do you know what I find really sad as well about the call about the under-17s is no matter what walk of life you're in, at 17 when you finish school at 16, you have a massive decision to make. Massive. And growing up, you've always, many of us always dreamed of being professional athletes in whatever sport that you played in. And at 17, you then make that leap. You're going to have a group of players who are making that leap to nothing, and they're going to have to then go into different careers, and you're just losing a gap there of potential talent and future talent, and it's neglected, truthfully. By the way, I'm just preaching to the choir a little bit.
Let's look at the first test. I don't even know what to say on that. We're going to have to come back to this topic. It's confusing at this point. Let's look at today's
first test. The first test in India. Again, it was always going to be a tough ask, and the way that 162 all out. But the one thing I would say is that Indian bowling attack this morning was absolutely relentless. And I appreciate we criticise some of the batting at times, but that England's batting attack and Australia's batting attack would have struggled with that today. That was tough.
I think looking at the situation, you're going to have an honest assessment. There were a few soft dismissals. I think, someone like a Justin Graves, I think John Campbell as well got good balls. Some of the other guys, sort of gave their wickets away, and they'll be honest about that.
Yeah.
But overall, batting less than 50 overs, you're always going to be on the back foot, I think Floyd Reefer is the batting coach. I mean, this is only the second series he's had for the test team. But I think he's going to come under scrutiny here, because you look at a Ravi Rampal who's just started working with the team in the summer, and you could see, you look at a Johan Lane who I think has obviously been rushed into Test cricket, but you could see the bowlers on a whole, the bowling department, look the part. Whether they're getting wickets or not, they look the part.
Yeah.
You can't say the same for Floyd Reefer's unit, and he's going to have to be questioned as to, what's happening. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because he's been the batting coach. Obviously, as I said, it's just 2 series in Test cricket, but he's been the batting coach with these guys for limited overs stuff for quite some time now. So he would have had a rapport with these guys. It's not as if he's coming in fresh like Ravi Rampal did.
Yeah.
Having to, learn some of these guys and implement stuff whilst learning them. I don't know. I think, as I said, it's difficult. As I've been saying, it's difficult to judge the West Indies against these teams, because we know that it's not, like for like. It's not comparable. I'm not going to start judging them until next year. I've been saying that since earlier up in the year. Because I understood what the task was with these teams.
Yeah.
Having said that, you still want to see guys bat longer.
Yeah.
It's literally the only way you can score runs is if you bat longer anyway. So everything stems around batting longer. So it's just for guys finding ways to, small milestones. Let's get through 5-run partnerships. As a partnership, we count in 5s. Okay, we'll tick off this 5. Let's add another 5, another 5, another 5. Until you look up and you see that you've ended up batting a whole session. Okay, refresh. You come back the next session. First 6 overs, nothing loose. Stay in the V, stay straight. Let's get through that.
Yeah.
After that, then we start working in 5s.
Yeah.
Look up, you're at a water break. Small targets like that, as opposed to looking at, I'm trying to score 50. I'm trying to score 100.
I'm with you on that.
Those are too big a target. I remember when I just started playing Test cricket. Obviously, Darren Brother is somebody that played under 19, under 15, all that stuff. He was early in the Test team, and me and him batted together quite a lot in our younger days. And that's sort of how we used to be, just small targets. As 22, I was 22, 23. He's 23, 24.
Yeah,
and we're just literally just small targets, and eventually you get down the road. And I remember Rahul Dravid once telling us, you can't think about 100. You have to think about the journey, not the destination. So you just enjoy the journey, the little things along the way. And I think that will help in terms of these batters sort of alleviating some of the pressure. Obviously everyone wants to do good, but it's a process to doing well. So that would sort of be my message to the batting group. Obviously everyone right now will be down on them. It'll be sort of doom and gloom. West Indies cricket is finished.
No, I'm not having that.
Okay, what can we do to help? And I think that, something like that, a simple idea like that,
A mindset.
Yeah, another thing is, all right, force bowlers to bowl straight. So once you've covered your stump, one thing Shiv would always say to us is, because Shiv is not a big fan of guys leaving with his bat. Oh, Shiv leaves like this, just keep your bat, play inside the line. If the ball beats you, fine. If it
Right.
comes back, it hits, but you're forcing them to bowl straight. That way you can get clips. And then once you get to 25 now and you're a bit more comfortable, then you can start hitting the ball through the offside. Instead of looking for expansive shots through the offside earlier up on the balls, doing a bit more so that gives more chances
Yeah.
down behind. You want
Yeah.
to force them to bowl you straighter with the balls under your eye line, and you have control over that ball, as opposed to out here where you're reaching for it, not full face of the bat, and the ball's doing something as well. So you give yourself a greater chance of getting out.
Yeah. When you speak about someone like Shiv giving you that advice, it shows as well, obviously, the experience and the value that people can add still. You've talked about like the key partnerships, and when Roston and Shea were batting together, they've slowly sort of started to build that up a bit. And it was just a shame that just before the lunch break, it would have been when Shea got bowled by Yadav, they sort of switched that momentum back a little bit. Because if I'm not saying that the West Indies would have been on top going into that lunch break, but if Shea and Roston are still there after 23, 20 not out, respectively for both of them, it would have helped. Obviously, then coming back after lunch, that you're not necessarily, we spoke about the cliche things, and getting a wicket just before lunch, it sort of changes that momentum a little bit, really. But you mentioned about some of the dismissals. It is like it's just that little lapse of concentration, and when you're playing against the stronger sides, you don't get that second chance, really. If you one loose shot, you get nicked off. One loose shot, you're getting bowled. And then when you put in there the deliveries that the the delivery that Justin Gray's got, it's you're going to get that as well against these top sides.
And that's the thing, like when you find yourself on the back foot, like the West Indies have been in recent times in Test matches. Well, not in recent times, in past 30 fucking years. But when you find yourself on the back foot, then things always seem as though it's going wrong as well for you.
Yeah.
Like you don't get the luck of the green.
Yeah.
So you might give a half chance, you're gone. Whereas someone else gives 2-3 half chances, they get dropped 3-4 times, score 150.
Yeah.
That's just how things tend to pan out. Because you're not in the mental frame of mind where you're not thinking positively, your body's not acting positively.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. It's just it's going to be tough. I just hope tomorrow, they come back tomorrow and the bowlers can put in a real sort of performance and try and somehow claw something back here. I'll tell you one positive. From an Indian, I thought Indians gloveman Jarrell was absolutely superb. I appreciate he might not play much Test cricket with Rishabh Pant around, but I was really impressed with how well he kept behind the stumps. But
he made a particular save that went to, I think, second slip or something.
Oh yeah.
So
he took a couple down leg as well. I was like, "Whoa, this is proper. This is a proper gloveman." I'm a bit of a geek like that, but hey. Hopefully. I wanted to ask you. You mentioned about Rakeem Cornwall potentially being picked. How would you think when you've looked at the pitch? How do you think he would have gone on something like that?
Before we get to that, Kemar Roach definitely should have been playing this Test match.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
I think that in the Caribbean, there is a notion that because you have an academy, you have to justify having the academy by selecting players from the academy.
Yeah,
an academy is to fast track a player's development to get them into regional cricket, not into international cricket. If you want to fast track guys into international cricket, that's where you have an A team, not an academy. There's two different things. So I think they need to understand that you can't keep putting these young kids to do a big man's job,
Yeah.
It's unfair to them. Having said that, it just looks as though the Indian spinners got a lot more out of the pitch than the West Indian spinners. You look at the ball that Kuldeep got shea with.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a lot earlier, so on a fresher pitch, as opposed to West Indies bowling later in the day.
It looked like it started to break up a bit as well from that little rough patch.
I mean, you listen to the pre-match pressers and stuff, you'd have heard them saying how hot it is there, even though the pitch is green. So I guess that's why they had to leave the pitch green, because if they sort of left it bare, it would have crumbled.
Yeah, straight up,
so you expect it to get a lot drier. You expect it to start spinning a lot more. When does that happen? I'm not sure. Obviously, you're asking what I think Raheem Cornwall's, I guess, impact would have been on this match. I know he imparts a lot more spin on the ball than Warwick and Curry Peer.
That's why I asked the question. Yeah, because you mentioned that point.
If the pitch is assisting, whereas Raheem Cornwall puts a lot more spin on the ball. So naturally, he's always going to get more from the pitch than those two. Plus, he's coming from a lot higher trajectory, so he's going to get more bounce, etc. Maybe he would have gotten one or two. Maybe he would not have gotten any. You know, he's not there for us to know.
No. The reason I asked the point was you mentioned in the previous episode about how he's the probably the biggest spinner of the ball, and I thought when I was in the dismissal of Shea, I was like, ooh, okay, if with his height and with the turn he gets, he's going to cause trouble. So I am going to be interested to see how the rest of the game pans out, and the rest of, especially tomorrow, goes, and if he does start to break up, and the drier it gets. Because it's going to be tough, the batting lineup is so strong as well with India. That's why they are such a strong side as they are. And when you've got KL currently 53 not out, he's going to be looking for a bigger, and the form that Shubman Gill has been in as well. It's going to be a tough ask. It's going to be a tough ask, but let's just see how it pans out.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Jaden Ball today. I think I was doing the assessment in my head, and I can only think of 3 fast bowlers in the world that are better than Jaden Seales, and it's
Bumrah,
Pat Cummins, Bumrah, KG Rabada. There's no other fast bowler. I mean, I was thinking Hazelwood, but Hazelwood's injuries and all these other things, I think consistently just being on the park. I think Jaden Seales is the 4th best fast bowler in the world. I can't put anyone else above him, and he showed that today. Like, he was going past the bat on an impeccable line today to KL Rahul, who I think is a master technician. So he really showed his class, and obviously got Joycewell out there with a ball that was close, coming back in too close to cut. It's gonna have to do a lot of bowling to keep the West Indies in this match. They're gonna hope that the heat draws it out quickly and it starts spinning, so the spinners can come into play. But outside of that, I don't really see many wicket taking options, unfortunately.
No. But anyway, we'll
conditions anyway.
Yeah, of course. We'll discuss that. In the next couple of days, and we'll do a review of the test. But yeah. Good discussion, obviously, about the meeting. Good discussion, obviously, about the first day. But again, as I always want to wrap up, let us know what you think, what your thoughts, obviously, from the situation and obviously the press conference that took place. How do you see the rest of the test going? Do let us know. Any questions for Kieran? He'll obviously bounce them all back to you as he does. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. Thank you.